In this section, we are going to cover how to manage the sales process through these steps: setting goals, planning the sales team, assessing sales performance, and finally, managing performance. At the beginning of each year, you will receive the total sales budget for your store. This budget is then divided into monthly targets, which take into consideration the different events that are planned for each month. What we want to do now is to break down this budget further into weekly and daily sales targets. This is to be able to communicate these targets with the store team and give them the daily and weekly sales goals to work on, which is also going to be tracked through the daily sales reports, which we are going to go through later in this course. In addition to the weekly and daily sales targets, we also want to set the sales KPIs for the team. These sales KPIs are ATV, UPT, and conversion. For more on those KPIs, please refer to the Retail Math course. While setting the daily and weekly targets, we need to take the following into consideration: the event calendar for the month, weekdays versus weekends, start and end of the month versus middle of the month, and store-specific trends. To explain this further, we cannot just divide the monthly target into equal daily targets because this will not be realistic. Sales typically are higher in the weekends and lower in the middle of the week. Sales typically are higher in the beginning and ending of the month because this is when salaries are paid out and typically customers spend more during this time, versus in the middle of the month, which is usually the lowest period in terms of sales. Also, based on the event's calendar, the days of the event itself will drive more traffic to the stores and consequently more sales. Finally, some stores will be outliers in terms of how their sales are trending. For example, you might have some stores where certain weekdays might be as high as the weekends, or some stores that could have a stable traffic and sales volume throughout the month, regardless of salary time. If you have these scenarios for some of your stores, then take this into consideration while setting their daily and weekly targets. To get an idea about the daily targets, we can use the data from last year as a reference to see how much different is a typical weekday sales performance versus a typical weekend is, and also to see how much daily sales did we make during a certain event last year. Based on that, we then go ahead and put our daily targets for this year. The main thing is that the total sales for the month for that store will be the same as the budgeted monthly sales that we have been given. Then we go ahead and communicate those targets with the team and move to the next step of planning our team based on those targets, which we are going to discuss in the next lesson. When we talk about planning the sales team, we mean scheduling the team in a way that will deliver our sales targets. This happens by answering those questions. How many people am I going to schedule for each day? How many people am I going to schedule for each shift? And who is going to be scheduled when? Scheduling the retail team should be more or less in line with the budgeted sales for the week, where the days with higher sales targets will have higher coverage on the sales floor, and the days with lower traffic and sales volume will have less coverage and will be ideal to give more of the days off for the team. But here, we also want to get more specific about how many people will be scheduled for each shift. Just like sales are not the same for all days, sales will also differ for different times of the day. For example, in some stores, sales will be more during the evening, and for other stores, sales are higher during morning shifts. We can easily find this out from our previous sales reports and plot down the trend of sales by hour. Then we can schedule our team to match those trends when it comes to how many people will be scheduled in each shift. The last consideration is who to schedule when. While everyone on the sales floor is expected to serve customers anyways, not all people on your team will have the same selling skills. People are good at different things. Some of them are good at visual merchandising, and others are very good at sales, and so on. Some team members will be new to the business, so they are still not too confident in their product knowledge and in selling the merchandise. We take all this into consideration while creating the schedule. For example, we can schedule our top selling people during the days and hours where there is the peak traffic, and schedule the newcomers during the time with less traffic so that they can get to learn more about the products and practice selling it. Then once we have finalized planning and scheduling, we move to the next step of assessing sales performance. When we analyze sales performance, we look at two things: the actual sales and KPIs numbers from the reports and the selling behaviors of the team on the sales floor. The daily sales report, also known as DSR, is a report that is generated with the following information: the sales of the day, the target of the day, the traffic that came to the store, the number of transactions, and also could be extended to a breakdown of sales by category. I'm going to leave a link to a sample DSR report in the attachment, so you can see an example. Having these data out of the system, we can then structure our report to tell us how much budget achievement percentage for each day was, calculate the KPIs from the data, ATV, UPT, and conversion, sales contribution by category. We can also structure it to calculate week-to-date and month-to-date achievement, which tells us where we stand on the whole week and the whole month and even the whole year if we calculate year-to-date. The reason we want to look at the month-to-date performance, for example, is that when sales have been low so far, we might have a chance to catch up before the end of the month if we expect to have high traffic in the remaining days or in the final week of the month. In this case, we could revise our daily targets for the remaining days so that they would reflect how much we need to achieve each day to catch up with the lost sales so far. So now we will have the big picture that tells us where we stand in terms of sales achievement and KPI achievement. We can take these data and analyze them to find out the possible reasons behind non-performance. Let's see how combining the different numbers and KPIs can show us the performance picture. If sales are down, we look at the traffic that came to the store. Was it in line with the usual or expected traffic for this store for that particular day, or was it down due to some external reasons? If traffic was lower than usual for this day, then the main cause for poor sales performance is low traffic. If traffic was normal, however, we look further into the KPIs. Are the different KPIs in line with their respective targets, or are they lower? What are the KPIs trying to tell us? For example, if traffic was high but conversion was very low while ATV and UPT were normal, then this could signify either a shortage of staff on the floor, so a problem in scheduling. In other words, there was not enough coverage on the floor to serve all customers who entered, and hence a lot of them walked out without buying. Or it could signify bad customer service or wrong selling behaviors on the floor. And this is where the next part of the analysis comes in, and that is observation of selling behaviors on the floor by the floor managers for the respective sales teams. Are they applying the right behaviors they have been trained on? Are they touching as many customers as possible during rush time, or spending more time on one customer and ignoring the others? Observations will tell us the reason behind poor sales performance while traffic is being high enough. Another insight could come from ATV and UPT performance. If traffic was fine and conversion was on target, but these two KPIs were low, and that's why sales were low, it could signify that the sales team is not applying the different sales techniques such as upselling and cross-selling to add to the transaction. So in other words, they are closing many customers, but not closing higher value transactions by adding to the shopping basket. This too could be confirmed through observation on the sales floor. So based on the analysis of the different KPIs, together with floor observations, we can get an idea about what is causing low sales performance. Now we are going to see how to manage this performance on a weekly basis.